Coming up. The sentencing of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, who was found guilty in May of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records, is being delayed. And artificial intelligence shows it has the potential to boost Africa's economy by $1.5 trillion by 2030. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is digging in on the pushback against Matt Gaetz, his choice for Attorney General. Publicly, Republican senators say they will give Gaetz the due process that they would give any other nominee, and most refuse to criticize him directly. But they are split on whether they want to see the ethics report, which the House Ethics Committee could choose to release. Meanwhile, the sentencing of Trump, who was found guilty back in May of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records to suppress damaging information ahead of his 2016 election, is being delayed. VOA's Tina Trinh has the details.
Will President-elect Donald Trump be sentenced for his crimes? It's a question that remains to be answered, as New York State Judge Juan Merchan considers the extraordinary circumstances of a former U.S. president and convicted felon, who also happens to be the incoming president. In May, Trump was found guilty of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records, to conceal payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels, to suppress a sex scandal ahead of his 2016 election. Trump's sentencing in the so-called hush money case has been delayed multiple times, and his election victory earlier this month casts further doubt on legal proceedings.
Really, the core of this is to find out whether or not Trump's sentencing is going to move forward at all, and that includes whether it will happen before he takes office, whether it will happen after he takes office, or whether his case will just be dismissed.
Trump's defense team is arguing that a landmark Supreme Court ruling in July grants him presidential immunity and that the case should be dismissed entirely. But Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg is arguing that the jury arrived at a guilty verdict prior to the Supreme Court ruling and that Trump was not president at the time. In a letter to the judge, he indicated that prosecutors would oppose attempts to dismiss the case, but were open to delaying sentencing until after Trump's term in office.
If Juan Merchan decides that he agrees with the prosecutor's suggestion as a possibility, then he would engage in what might be termed an equitable stay of proceedings in light of the extraordinary circumstances of the defendant becoming president of the United States, and he would effectively stay the case until 2029. After Donald Trump steps down from the presidency.
The hush money case isn't the only one the president-elect must contend with. Two federal cases brought forth by special counsel Jack Smith, one alleging mishandling of classified documents and another election interference, are reportedly being brought to a close as a long-standing Department of Justice policy cites that sitting presidents cannot be charged with the crime. However, an election interference case in Georgia does not fall under federal jurisdiction.
Technically, the state of Georgia is free to proceed unencumbered by the DOJ policy. But can they? Is it even possible to expect that they would be able to proceed and expect the cooperation of Donald Trump, which would really require the cooperation of the White House to proceed with a trial while the defendant is serving as president of the United States?
Unprecedented circumstances have made for uncharted legal territory. Tina Trinh, VOA News, New York.
Jewish settlers in the West Bank are welcoming the election of Donald Trump and his selection of Mike Huckabee as U.S. ambassador to Israel. They say they hope to annex the West Bank and even build settlements in Gaza. Linda Gradstein reports from the Kedumim settlement in the West Bank.
Kedumim is a comfortable bedroom community in the northern West Bank built in the mid-1970s. Daniela Weiss, a fiery settler leader, and her children were one of the first Jewish families to settle here, living in tents with no running water. Today, she hopes President-elect Donald Trump will accept total sovereignty and annexation of the West Bank settlements without provisions for a Palestinian state.
The president of the United States, who says to him, "I'm going to give you a present. I will give you sovereignty, but you will have to leave something aside." No, it's all ours. The ability to say it is all ours. Why? Because it's the promise of God to Abraham, not to Abraham Lincoln, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Israel's finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, also lives here. He predicted that in 2025, Israel will annex what's known as Area C, the 60% of the West Bank that contains the Jewish settlements and is home to more than 500,000 Jewish settlers. The 2.5 million Palestinians live mostly in what's designated Areas A and B of the West Bank that are under the partial or full control of the Palestinian Authority. Israeli annexation of disputed territory was a feature of the first Trump administration's Middle East policy, which recognized Israeli control over the Golan Heights. Trump-appointed ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, has long been a staunch proponent of Jewish settlements in the West Bank. Like the Israeli settlers, he refers to the territories by their biblical name, Judea and Samaria.
I recognize Judea and Samaria as part of Israel, and I believe that it's most important that we realize that there are more Jews living in Judea and Samaria than most people ever realize, and that those numbers are significant. It's an important part of the security of Israel.
Some analysts, including those who live in the West Bank, say that Israel should be careful about annexing the lands unilaterally.
If you really think that, and I think that sovereignty is one of the thing that can make Israel really safe and can ensure her future, you have to do it wisely, and you have to do it hand in hand with the American administration.
Other settlers warn that a decision to annex parts of the West Bank could cause further unrest.
אני באופן אישי בעד. אני רק לא רוצה שזה יקרע את החברה הישראלית מבפנים עוד פעם.
I personally support annexation, but I just don't want it to tear the society apart again. There already is a strong settlement movement here, but the left is against it. The division among us weakens us.
אבל משהו שהוא יכול איכשהו לחיות איתו בשלום, לבלוע אותו איכשהו, ולא לקרוע, כי ראינו כאן מה קרה כאן לפני המלחמה, איך היה כאן כזה קרח. אז אני מנסה כמה שפחות ליצור את הקרעים האלה, כי הם מזיקים לנו, הם מחלישים אותנו.
Some settler leaders, including Daniela Weiss, want to go even further than annexing the West Bank. They say they are already preparing to rebuild Jewish settlements in the Gaza Strip, which were evacuated in 2005. Linda Gradstein, VOA News, Kidumim in the West Bank.
The rise of artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT is sparking debate in higher education, raising questions about ethics and integrity in teaching, learning, and knowledge creation. Some academic institutions in South Africa are taking a proactive approach, integrating AI into their curriculums. Zahir Kasim explains from Johannesburg.
This is a final year law class in South Africa, where students are using advanced AI tools like ChatGPT provided by the university. The University of the Witwatersrand is among several institutions embracing AI in the classroom here. Law professor Nicole Steyn believes these tools are helping to create a more inclusive learning environment.
But we have this reality that we have 12 different languages and various backgrounds, and now it's allowing us to actually start looking at the knowledge behind it, not just how great you are at English.
An ongoing study across 5 South African universities examines how students are using generative AI in their studies. Chikezi Uzukbunam from Rhodes University says the tools are especially helpful for first-year students learning how to write academically and later as study aids and tutors.
Just like when Google came out or when the internet came out and even calculators, there were a whole lots of moral panic, and especially people trying to say, oh, what is the future of academic integrity when we allow these technologies to have their way? But we think that in the next few years, AI is going to become normal. So the question is, how do we begin to have conversations about how students can use AI effectively and ethically?
Ethics remain a central challenge for African universities adopting AI. Eduvos, a private university in South Africa, actively integrates AI into its classes. However, both staff and students are still navigating its implications.
No assignment at the moment, a traditional assignment, cannot not be done by AI. So what does that mean? We simply have to redesign the way we assess. It's on us to educate also our students on what is plagiarism at the moment. If you copy and paste something directly from ChatGPT, is that plagiarism even if you declare its use? I think this is a very important and valid question and something we have to grapple with.
At WITS, law students are thriving with the support of AI, while the technology gradually impacts society and industries.
I think it's an incredible tool, and I'm really glad I have it. It makes work a lot easier. But do I think my job's going away? No, I don't. I think I'll be fine.
By embracing AI, these South African universities hope to bridge gaps in academic backgrounds and access to knowledge, moving towards a more equitable education system. Zahir Kassem, VOA News, Johannesburg, South Africa.
The wife of veteran Ugandan opposition politician Kizza Besigye Winnie Byanyima, the executive director of UNAIDS, says he was kidnapped during a book launch in Kenya at the weekend, transferred to Uganda, and is being held at a military jail in Kampala. Besigye, seen here in file video, appeared in a military court on Wednesday and was charged with several offenses, including unlawful possession of firearms, according to a Reuters witness. Besigye is denying all charges. Chris Baryomunsi, Uganda's information minister, says Uganda did not carry out abductions and that any arrests would be done in collaboration with the host country. Kenya's Foreign Affairs Permanent Secretary says Kenya was not involved in any incident involving Besigye. Still to come, research shows that AI has the potential to boost Africa's economy in a major way. We'll be right back.
On the next Straight Talk Africa, Somaliland opposition leader Abdi Rahman Siru defeated incumbent President Muse Bihi Abdi in the November 13 elections with 64% of the vote. Somaliland declared independence from Somalia in 1991 but lacks international recognition. A recent memorandum of understanding with Ethiopia might help Somaliland gain recognition, but this is causing anger with the Mogadishu government. How will the new president navigate this complex political situation? Join me, Peter Cloete, for an in-depth discussion on Somaliland and the tension building in the Horn of Africa.
In other news, Spain's migration minister says the country is legalizing about 300,000 undocumented migrants a year starting in May through 2027. The policy aims to expand the aging country's workforce and allow foreigners living in Spain without proper documentation to obtain work permits and residency. Artificial intelligence was much discussed and demonstrated at the Africa Tech Festival in Cape Town, South Africa. Research shows that AI has the potential to boost Africa's economy by $1.5 trillion by 2030. This is equivalent to half the continent's current gross domestic product. Vicky Stark filed this report.
Big names like Meta, Microsoft, and the United States government were on a keynote panel at this year's Africa Tech Festival in Cape Town. The topic was the transformative potential of artificial intelligence.
In the 15th century, when printing press was invented, did we know what was going to happen to the world after printing press? When electricity came in the 19th century, did we know at that point in time where is the world going to go? AI is that general purpose technology. These technologies come every 150 years, and when they come, they change the world forever.
With AI already being used in everything from social media algorithms to medical diagnosis, Bart said it would continue to make people's jobs easier.
Job augmentation is what the world awaits. New jobs will come, your jobs will change, you will learn new skills.
Joy Basu of the US State Department appealed to tech leaders to not leave behind Africa, which needs education and infrastructure investment. Basu said she was proud of the US government's Digital Transformation with Africa program and the work Washington did to ensure a resolution on AI safety was passed at the United Nations earlier this year.
I've been so delighted in the way the US has tried to really lead a consensus at the UN for safe, secure, and trustworthy AI development. There were 22 African co-sponsors, there were 123 countries that joined on, because I think as a world we know that this is an incredibly powerful technology.
To demonstrate the good AI can do, the US government, in partnership with IBM Consulting and the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy, announced an AI medicine tracking system for Africa.
Counterfeit, substandard, falsified medications are even more of a problem here on the African continent. So being able to equip pharmacists and other members of the supply chain with tools to trace medication helps provide additional visibility into the supply chain, but also has the knock-on effect of protecting patients.
Describing herself as being very green when it comes to AI, Sikim Suseni, the owner of a South African public relations firm, said she used ChatGPT in her business, but the festival had opened her eyes to the many other ways the technology can be used.
Considering the unemployment rate of South Africa, very high, especially in the youth unemployment rate, I personally feel that AI will equip young South Africans to apply for jobs and also be able to get more upskilling through using AI platforms.
A recent report from tech giant Google says AI could add $30 billion to the economy of sub-Saharan Africa by 2030. Vicky Stark, VOA News, Cape Town, South Africa.
Malawi's first female flight crew, Captain Yolanda Kaunda and First Officer Lusekelo Mwenifumbo, are working to inspire the next generation of aviators. The pair have organized air shows with the Malawi Air Force to give children opportunities to see aircraft up close. Their most recent event, held Saturday, attracted around 1,000 underprivileged children. Lamek Masina reports from Lilongwe.
It might seem just like another sunny day at the air base in Malawi's capital, Lilongwe, but for hundreds of children gathered here, the day is filled with excitement. For many, this is their first time seeing an airplane up close and entering the cockpit. For some, this may be their first step toward a career in aviation.
It has been my dream to become a pilot, and I really am excited to learn more.
I want to be a pilot engineer when I grow up.
Malawi's first all-female flight crew, Captain Yolanda Kaunda and First Officer Lusekelo Mwenifumbo, work for Malawi Airlines. The Jewish Phantom Aviation Association organized the show in partnership with the Malawi Air Force. Mwenifumbo says the aim is to showcase airplanes for children in rural Malawi who sometimes seek refuge when airplanes fly overhead due to a lack of familiarity.
We got about almost 1,000 underprivileged children to come in to just give them a pinch of an imagination, just to spice up their imagination, and because we believe that imagination is what is going to make them more curious for knowledge. So we believe in the children, we believe in the dreams, because we also believe in our dreams in the first place. So we want to encourage as many dreams as possible, and we're not stopping here.
The theme of the show was Dreams Take Flight, and it rekindled the excitement of aviation even for other attendees like Rosrine Hamis.
it's also my first time to come to a place like this, and I've been inspired. And if I had a chance to have, been exposed to this type of lifestyle before, I would have chosen to become a pilot. So it's so nice for me too.
The show's organizers allowed visitors to step inside helicopters, jets, and training aircraft. Puma Energy Malawi was the main sponsor, providing fuel for all the airplanes, which performed skilled and daring maneuvers. Tourism authorities say Malawi's aviation industry is not appealing to young people, in part because of its small size.
Where we don't have a lot of airlines coming into Malawi, we don't have a lot of airlines even domestically moving within the country and all of that. And then the issue of infrastructure, where we have, our airports. We have been talking about Mzuzu Airport, we have been talking about Chileka Airport.
However, Kantukule says the Malawi government is working on policies that would attract greater private sector investment in the aviation industry. Lamek Masina, VOA News, Lilongwe.
This is me. Amazon Web Services invests $10 million in children's health in Africa through its Imagine grant, funding various non-profits to leverage cloud technology and AI to combat health disparities. Technology correspondent Paul Ndiho joins us with a special guest. Hello, Paul.
Thanks, Esther. The Elizabeth Glazier Pediatric AIDS Foundation is one of the recipients. It plans to use funds to enhance generative AI and cloud tech for pediatric research and support health workers fighting HIV and AIDS in Malawi, Kenya, Zimbabwe. Dr. Shabia Ismail Anwar, Senior Director for Strategic Information at the Elizabeth Glazier Pediatric AIDS Foundation, joins us to talk more about this initiative. Hello, Dr. Anwar.
Hi, hello.
How are you?
I'm fine.
So tell us a little bit about this initiative.
So this initiative, which the Amazon Web Services collaborates with ECPAF, the Elizabeth Glazier Pediatric AIDS Foundation. Amazon has one of its objectives really in terms of, using some of the cloud technologies to improve healthcare, the quality of healthcare. And ECPAF, its mission primarily is really for eradication of pediatric HIV, for AIDS-free generation, would like to use technologies to improve quality of care. And this is a perfect opportunity where the tech companies and implementing partners come together to do that. So that's what we are working, and we're working on developing a number of AI models, generative models, predictive models that we are currently working on. And ECPAF is a recipient of the first, actually the 3 grants from Amazon Web Services.
Interesting. You seem to be doing a lot of work in Malawi. Your generative AIs are already working out there. How can this help people, especially people who are fighting these HIV/AIDS, the people who work in that space? How can generative AI help them to do their jobs better?
So basically, what generative AI does is that it really helps the healthcare workers in guiding them in making a better clinical decision making, because it provides, for example, for interpreting the diagnostics, the imaging, for example, so it quickly can read X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, and so forth. So it's really used for screening, and especially for children. Now this is being worked on. WHO is working on. Particularly for adults, this is already a validated technology. It really helps to propose a personalized and customized support, a treatment plan for kids and mothers. And it also really helps by making the services really available, accessible, 24/7. Now, all these virtual systems, AI-powered telemedicine now really helps. So 24/7 mothers and children have, they can, for their emergencies, for others, AI tools are now, taking over. So this is really it's revolutionizing actually healthcare for patients. Appointment and medical management. So
How about in situations where most of the hospitals, most of the people who deal with patients come from rural areas, people who are dealing with HIV are usually not privileged to have a lot of information. How does generative AI, or how do you plan to use this in terms of collecting data for some of these patients?
So, for collection of data, most of now our patients, most of our population in Africa now, I mean, smartphones are very much well used, so they're there, in any rural part, we do have the smartphones, and so AI-powered, apps are in the smartphones, and then the patients get, messages, appointment reminders, and they can also communicate with those, with the clinicians, and so, and those are linked to their medical record system. So that way, patients know that what their conditions, they can communicate, they have their health records, and those data, again, can be also captured through the various systems in which we can use. So
you're leveraging on existing technology, but bringing in these new tools, and you've had success in Malawi. Can this be replicated in other places?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. What has been done in Malawi, Malawi is one of the, resource limited countries, and so the national patient level electronic medical record and health information ecosystem that has been built in Malawi, there is no reason that cannot be built in other African countries, provided that there is a political will and there is a political commitment and the donor commitment, and have the right implementing partners in place. This definitely can be done. Something done in Malawi, surely it can be done in other sub-Saharan African countries.
Well, I wish we had more time, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Paul. It was my pleasure.
A pleasure. Thank you. Dr. Shabia Agwa, thank you so much. From the Elizabeth Aglasia Pediatric AIDS Foundation, that's today's reporter. Back to you, Esther.
Thank you very much, Paul, for an informative segment there. Be sure to join Pondiho each Wednesday for another informative tech segment right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.